Getting New Zealand citizenship is pretty straightforward. However, if you're a first-generation citizen, things start to get complicated when you try passing it down to your children and your children's children. I'm about to simplify that for you in this video, so keep watching. Hi everyone, it's your girl, the Sassy Engineer, your favorite Niger Kiwi down under New Zealand. There's so much happening regarding residency and deportation in New Zealand. Early February, news broke out about a young boy who was facing deportation to his home country, India. He just turned 18 and he was served with a deportation letter that they're going to be sending him back to India. Now it depends on what you describe as home country, because this boy was born and raised in New Zealand, but unfortunately to parents who were overstayers. They've been overstayers for around 2 decades. That means 20 years. His sister, same mom, same dad, was not going to be deported. The sister is a New Zealand citizen, but he is not. And that is because he was born after the New Zealand citizenship policy was changed in January 1, 2006. So before then, you could become a citizen if you are born in New Zealand. But after 2006, you needed at least one of your parents to be a resident, a permanent resident in New Zealand, before you, who is born in New Zealand, can be a citizen. That was a boy's story, and this made news. His case was appealed and he has now been granted residence visa. Shortly after that, another news broke about a Tongan family who is facing deportation. In this case, the father of that family has already been deported to Tonga. So it's now the mom and the children who are in New Zealand who are facing deportation to Tonga. And just like the 18-year-old boy, these children were born and raised in New Zealand. So technically, they're supposed to be Kiwi. That's if you're looking at it like that. But legally, and according to Immigration New Zealand, they are not. So they are actually facing deportation. However, their case is currently being considered. I have not heard anything about that. Not too long after the Tonga news, another news came out about 2 siblings. These ones, they are geniuses, honestly, because the first one, who is about 18, is just completing her PhD and is working in a New Zealand cybersecurity department, while the second one, who is 15, is currently studying masters in Harvard. I know, right? So they are geniuses. However, when their visa expires, their student visa expires, they are likely to be sent back to their home country, which is Vietnam, by the way. In their own case, their mother is on a work visa. And I think their own case, anyway, I don't want to comment on that, but that is a story around that. Now, it begs the question. So you see that in both cases, the children were born and raised in New Zealand, but they are not automatically citizens because they were born after 2006 and the situation of their parents. There are 3 ways to become a citizen in New Zealand, either by birth or by grant or by descent. Now, in this video, I really want to talk about children of people who got their citizenship through either of these ways. If you want to know how you can become a citizen through either of these ways, you have to watch the video that is popping up right now or check the link in my description box. What I really want to talk about here is your children after you get your citizenship. What happens to them? Let's begin with citizenship by birth. Children born to people who got their citizenship by birth. Looking at Immigration New Zealand website to see children of people who got their citizenship by birth, what you can quickly see here is that the location matters. Where was your child born? If your child was born in New Zealand, they're automatically a citizen. But if your child was born outside New Zealand, then they will have to register for citizenship by descent. All you will just need to do is register your child's birth. For your grandchild, if your grandchild is born in New Zealand, the same thing that applied to your child who was born in New Zealand applies to your grandchild. But if your grandchild is born to your child who was born outside New Zealand, you have to look at citizenship by descent. Whatever applies to children of people who got citizenship by descent will apply to your grandchild. So let's check out citizenship by descent. Moving down to citizenship by descent. First of all, if you're a citizen by descent, you need to register your citizenship to make it official and to get your passport. That is step 1. Citizenship by descent means you were born overseas and at least one of your parents is a citizen. Your children, however, things are not as straightforward for your children as they are for those who are citizens by birth. So if you have a child that was born in New Zealand and you are a citizen by descent, your child is automatically a citizen on the day that child was born. So all you just need to do is register their birth and get their passport. But if you gave birth to your child outside New Zealand, things get complicated because you cannot pass your citizenship to that child. If that child wants to become a citizen, that child needs to apply for citizenship by grant. So this is where the difference is. So if you're a citizen by descent and you gave birth to your child outside New Zealand, your child cannot also register for citizenship by descent. Your child would need to apply for citizenship by grant, meaning that your child will have to go through all the process that us are going through. But they have made it such that if you don't want all those complexities, because then when you start looking at grandchildren, great-grandchildren, it may become complex. As a citizen by descent, you can also apply for citizenship by grant. If that application is successful, any child that you give birth to outside the country after that application has been approved can register as a citizen by descent. So this is one way around this complexity about giving birth to your children outside, because sometimes things take you outside of New Zealand and you live there for a long time and you give birth. If that is your case, your child can either apply for citizenship by grant or you apply for citizenship by grant, so that when you give birth to your child outside the country, all that child needs to do is to register as a citizen by descent. Otherwise, just know that you cannot pass your citizenship directly to your children that you gave birth to outside New Zealand. They will have to apply for citizenship by grant. Now, citizenship by grant. For those who are citizens by grant, which means that you're either born overseas or born to the parents who were not New Zealand citizens or had a visa that could allow them to live indefinitely in New Zealand. So typically, most of the migrants. For those ones, when you have children, if you give it to your child inside New Zealand, the children are automatically citizens. If you give it to your child outside New Zealand, they can register as citizens by descent. Now, how do you register as citizens by descent? What does this entail? Because apparently is very important. You can see here that citizenship by descent is the middle ground between citizenship by grant and citizenship by birth. So how do you register to become a citizen by descent? Now let's go on to the government website, which is gov.nz. So I am on the NZ citizenship website. Register as a citizen by descent and get a passport. So if you are a citizen by descent, you must register for your citizenship before you can get a New Zealand passport. Very, very important. Now, the price is the same regardless of your age, but when you want to do the registration and get a passport, you have a $90 difference between those who are 16 and over and 15 and under. So there are also different forms you have to fill depending on your age as well. 16 and over are classed under adults, 15 and under are put under child. So you will see the forms for yourself there on that website. Now, who has to sign the form and why? Something you have to note though is there are specifications on who has to sign the form. If your claim to New Zealand citizenship is through your mother must sign the form. If your claim to New Zealand citizenship is through your father, both your mother and your father must sign the form. So what it means when your parents sign the form is that they are giving consent for their information to be collected and used. So they need to verify that they're your parents and check that you are eligible for citizenship. If your parent died and cannot sign the form because they have died, you need to provide death certificate. What I really wanted to point out here is that yes, you can get New Zealand citizenship through these three ways. By birth is the ideal and by grant is the common. And then you have the middle ground. In my opinion, I call it the middle ground, which is by descent. But you can see that even though it's straightforward for your children when they are born in New Zealand, it becomes complex when your children are born outside New Zealand, especially for citizens by descent. For a person who is a citizen by descent to be able to pass their citizenship to their child who was born outside New Zealand, they would need to upgrade their citizenship to citizen by grant. They will need to apply for citizenship by grant, basically. In that way, their child who was born outside New Zealand can now register to become a New Zealand citizen by descent. Otherwise, that child will need to apply for citizenship by grant. And to apply for citizenship by grant, there are different criteria that you need to meet, which I have discussed in that other video. Link is in the channel. We're not talking about it here. Okay? I hope I've been able to explain the complexity around New Zealand citizenship. It's pretty straightforward, but there are tweaks here and there which you really need to pay attention to so that you don't end up in a dilemma. Thanks for watching to the end. Do not forget to subscribe as always. click the like button, share it to anyone you think that might need it, or save it for the future because you might just need it, or your grandchildren or your children, whatever. Just save it, okay? Cheers.